Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So if you're new here, my name is Olivia and today we are going to be making one of my all-time favorite recipes. It's definitely a staple. I definitely keep it in rotation. Being gluten-free, it's kind of hard to eat Chinese takeout just because there are so many different foods that have gluten in them, so a lot of the times it's just easier to try to recreate Chinese takeout dishes at home. So today that is what I've done, and we are going to be making beef and broccoli Chinese takeout. This is also Weight Watcher friendly, and I have all the points and everything listed down below. So before we get into it, I just wanted to remind you guys to give this video a like, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe to my channel. It really helps me out. So let's get into the video. All right, so getting started here. Today we are going to need 1 pound of beef, any kind you prefer. We're also going to need some broccoli. You can use fresh or frozen. And we will need 1/4 cup of tamari, a teaspoon of olive oil, a teaspoon of sesame oil, garlic and ginger, just measure it with your heart, 2 tablespoons of cornstarch, and then we are going to need 2 teaspoons of beef broth powder, or you could use a cup of normal beef broth. To start out, we are going to start by making our marinade. So I'm going to take my tamari and dump that into a dish. And then I'm also going to add in my olive oil and sesame oil in there. And then we're just going to take our ginger and garlic and put that in there as well. And we're just going to give that a little whisk. And then I decided that I wanted to add a little bit of black pepper in here, and I also put some onion powder in here. You can really do any kind of seasonings like that you like, but I just felt like black pepper and onion powder were right. So I'm going to give that one more little whisk, and I'm going to set that aside. Alright, so now we're moving on to our beef. So I am going to start by slicing this into thin strips across the grain, and then I'm gonna just kind of cut it into more like bite-sized pieces. I'm using a London broil here, and this was actually really good in this dish, but you can use whatever kind of beef you like, whatever you have on hand. Sometimes they even sell like pre-made cut up strips in the grocery store, and I've used those before and they're really good. So whatever works best for you, do that. I just picked this because it looked like a pretty nice lean cut of beef. So that's what we're going to use. Okay, so moving along here, I'm going to take my marinade, and then I'm going to take that beef that I just sliced up, and I'm going to pop that into my marinade mixture. And I'm going to set this in the refrigerator for a few hours. I usually like to just get this together like the morning before I make this dish and let it sit in the refrigerator all day. But even if you just let it sit in this mixture for like an hour, I'm sure it would absorb a decent amount of flavor, but obviously the longer the better. So I'm just going to pop my lid on this now, and I'm going to get that into the refrigerator. Moving along here, I'm just going to cut my broccoli into little florets. This is pretty straightforward. We're just going to cut the broccoli apart. Alrighty, so once your broccoli is all cut up, we are going to make our sauce. So I'm going to take those 2 teaspoons of beef broth powder, and then I'm going to take my cornstarch and I'm going to put that in a dish. And then I'm also going to need a cup of warm water for this. You could use beef broth instead of the beef broth powder, but I just keep the beef broth powder on hand. So what I'm doing is I'm just taking a little bit of water and I'm putting that in the dish first. Just a little bit, so I can kind of like break up any clumps or anything that are going to form. Because if we were to just put all that liquid in at once, what's going to happen is we're going to get a bunch of clumps of cornstarch, and then when we put that into our hot pan later, then you're just going to have like clumps in it, and like that's not cute. No one wants clumpy sauce. So I'm just mixing that up, and I'm going to add the last little bit of water here and then give it one last whisk, and I'm going to put a lid on that and I'm going to put it in the fridge. You can do this right before you cook this meal, or you can, you know, do it when you're getting your marinade together and let it sit in the fridge. Either way, it's going to turn out just fine. So moving on, we have our little tiny wok here, and we are going to take our beef that has been marinating for a few hours and we're going to pop that into our hot pan. And then I'm also going to pour in any of that remaining marinade that it's in there, because that's also going to kind of help to flavor our like gravy-y sauce that's going to be in this dish. So I'm just going to pour that over top there, and then we are just going to let this beef cook pretty much all the way through. Okay, so the beef is all nice and cooked through here, and it's all saucy in there. So I'm going to take my broccoli and I'm going to start adding that into my comically small wok, and I'm going to start cooking that down. I'm going to try to kind of get it to the bottom of the pan and start to let that cook. I feel like a good tip is to not let your broccoli overcook. You still want it to have a little bit of a crunch in it. So our broccoli is good and cooked now, and I'm going to take that beef broth and cornstarch mixture and I'm going to add that into the pan here. I'm going to turn the heat up a little bit, and that cornstarch is going to start to thicken up, and it's going to turn into that nice beef and broccoli gravy kind of sauce. So that is it for the beef and broccoli. It's all done, and let's get to plating. So I have it here in a bowl over some rice, and I also mixed in some cauliflower rice. And then I'm just gonna add my chopped scallions onto the top of this dish, and we're all good.
She's a Mona Lisa. Everyone's lining up to see her. She's a Mona Lisa. Everyone's lining up to see her. There must be something about her features. You'll find her beauty goes much deeper once you get to meet her.
Alright you guys, so that was my recipe for gluten-free Chinese takeout beef and broccoli. If you liked it, make sure to give this video a like, give it a thumbs up, let me know in the comments down below. I also will have the recipe listed in the comments down below, and any Weight Watcher points and information like that listed in the comments below. I hope that you guys like this recipe. I hope that you give it a try and let me know what you think. I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye!